Hey everybody, it's Kim Opalinsky from the Bagga team at LePage, Noralta. I'm going to be interviewing Jordy from Prestige Electric tonight. Hi Jordy.
Hey Kim, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome. How about yourself?
I'm doing very good. Thanks so much.
And thank you for joining me today. Hopefully we can get you some business out of this. So do you
Just
want to just get
happy to help. Yeah,
okay, you want to just get started in with the questions here?
sure.
Okay. So, first question we got in this week is what kind of electrical issues should we be looking for when buying an older home?
An older home. First things first. Some of those older homes have 60 amp services, so
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be an issue. You want to make sure that your panel has some room for growth. So depending on your electrical knowledge, you might need to lean on your home inspector for that. But you want to make sure that you have the ability to add to your home. The other thing that we notice a lot is, smoke detectors, old smoke detectors that maybe don't work or that have expired. That's something that you certainly want to keep an eye out. And then probably aluminum wiring. So older homes happen to have quite a bit of aluminum still. So that's probably the 4 or 5 things I would look for.
Okay, that was going to be one of my questions. What can you tell us about aluminum wiring?
Yeah,
Why is it bad?
yeah, a lot. You know what? A lot of misconceptions about aluminum. Believe it or not, I would say about 99% of homes are still fed with aluminum wiring. So you could still use aluminum for distribution purposes, meaning you can feed a home or you can feed a panel. You just can't use it for branch circuit wiring. So your fridge circuits, the circuits that would come off your panel. So what's dangerous about aluminum is that it's very soft. So with being soft, it's more susceptible to heat and cold. So if it's in an outside wall and it's seen a few winters and summers, it might start to loosen the contacts on a receptacle or a switch, and that's when you get into trouble. The other thing that happens with aluminum is it oxidizes. So if you don't have the proper devices or you don't have the proper terminations with some antioxidant, you're going to run into some issues. So aluminum is to be shied away from for sure. If you can change it, that's great. But if you are going to touch it, make sure that you have someone who knows what they're doing to deal with it. That's probably the most important part.
Okay, thank you. At what point do you need to get a permit when doing like a basement or something? Do you need
Oh,
to get
great
it like
question.
right at start before you even start or what?
Yeah, obviously you need a permit before you start any work. But I think your question is more to do I need a permit or not? So we get asked that a
For
lot.
the electrical, yeah.
Yeah, I think it differs between municipalities. They all interpret it different, but a good rule of thumb is any changes you're making to an electrical system, you should have a permit. So it's not something to be played with. It's something we go to school for. It's something we train for. It's really dangerous. So we at Prestige Electric always work under a permit, and we encourage anyone who's getting work done to do the same for sure.
Okay, awesome. How can somebody like that's buying a home, how do they go about finding out whether a permit was um, gotten, I guess, is what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
How do you go
I
about
guess
doing that?
you're looking for those green stickers. But what you can do is phone your municipality, phone the 311, and they should be able to look all that up for you. But yeah, the stickers are usually on the panel, or sometimes they were within a switch. So the best way to go about doing it is to phone, the powers that be who would have this on record, and then you'd be able to tell if there was permits pulled for your hot tub or your basement or your service upgrade. That's the best way to find out for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Um, what should we be looking for at the main panel when buying a house?
Again, you want to look and make sure that the numbers on the main breaker are at least 100. So some insurance companies aren't even insuring 60 amp services anymore. So that's certainly something to look for. You want to make sure it's 100 amps, and you want to make sure you've got some room for growth. We can get creative with sub panels or panel changeouts, but those incur costs. So if you can save that and you've got some room to add, an air conditioner or something of that sorts, you can make sure that you have room to do so.
Okay, sounds good. Is it easy to put those new plugs that you can buy with USB ports in them? Is it easy for somebody to do, or do you need to get an electrician to do it? Or
Yeah, it's two-part question there. Are they easy to do? Yes. So
okay,
it's just a device, so it's very easy to put in. Those devices happen to be a little thicker and deeper than your standard device. So you want to make sure that your box has enough room to dissipate the heat that's going to come with that. So as electricians, we actually have to monitor box fill. So we're limited to the amount of wires and devices that we can put in a box, and it's for heat dissipation. So you want to make sure that maybe you consult with someone who knows those codes and could maybe help you out with the installation, because they are a little larger and they're going to produce a little bit more heat than the average plug.
okay. Okay, another question is, I get this asked a lot as a buyer agent, is if a home is 60 amp, how easy is it to make it 100 amp, and is it really expensive? Does it vary a lot? Like, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, good question. So there's two types of services. There's underground and there's overhead. So when in the realm of upgrading your service from a 60 to 100, overhead's a lot easier for obvious reasons. There's not a cable that's predetermined in the ground that you'd have to replace. So overhead is quite a bit easier. Having said that, when you do an overhead service, you have to adhere to all the most recent codes. So more often than not, something was installed way back when it was acceptable, and maybe now it's different and things have changed. And so underground services, a little tougher, but even in the city of Edmonton, they've done a really, really good job of, kind of foreseeing those changes. So now every home has a 2.5-inch rigid conduit right to the meter. So they've got this big giant pipe and a smaller wire pulled in, so that it's quite a bit easier if you ever do want to upgrade your panel, that you can do that without having to tear your yard up, or God forbid do a directional drill or something like that. So good question. Overhead is much easier for sure.
Okay. What do you need? What do you need to do? Like, I know during home inspections, there's actually, it happens quite often. They'll say, a home inspector will say, that plug over there is not grounded. And why is only maybe one plug not grounded, and how do you ground it?
Yeah, another good question. So more often than not, and we see this lots from realtors, lots, and home inspectors. They're really good at catching this. So there's a plug tester that they plug into a device, and it bearing the color code, it'll tell you what's wrong with the device. And more often than not, you get one or two or three that maybe aren't grounded. That's probably just a loose wire, or maybe a DIY back in the day that didn't get done properly. So if it's on one or two devices, that's a real easy fix. You just replace the device and ground it properly. If it's on several, or like a whole circuit, then it's maybe something a little more involved. But yeah, it's quite common, and a real easy fix generally, for sure.
So technically, is a ground wire usually there? It's just not hooked up properly?
I would say 90% of the time, 95% of the time, yes. Some of those older homes, the cabling actually doesn't have a ground in it, so that's when it gets a little trickier. But
Yeah.
more often than not, it's just a device that's been improperly wired, or a device that's had a wire fall off over time, something along those lines.
Okay. That's good. Okay, what is the most common call or issue that you address in a home?
We get lots of lighting upgrade calls, but as far as issues, probably smoke detectors and GFIs. So it's not common knowledge that they have an expiry date of 10 years, usually, as per the manufacturer and their recommendations. But that's probably the most common is smoke detector replacements, or GFIs that are acting up or not working entirely.
Okay, that's actually one of my next questions is the GFI. I don't think I asked that yet, did I? Why should you use GFI plugs in bathrooms and kitchens?
Easy answer is because you have to. So
It's
we're
the
we're
law.
yeah, we're it's the law. Yeah, there's a big fat book that says we have to. No, it's a code. So anything within 1.5 meters of a water source has to be
Okay.
GFI protected. So that happens near your sink. That happens in a bathroom. Anything outside is treated the same. So it's just an extra layer of protection when you're dealing with a plug that could see maybe some moisture or some water at some point. So good
Okay.
question.
I do know that sometimes in home inspections it's the kitchen that doesn't have it. Like it's usually the bathroom always does and sometimes the outside plug, but usually it's the kitchen that doesn't have it. Was it only made law a certain time ago for kitchens? Like
That's a good question, and that might be for something before my time. I might have to get back to you on that, but more often than not, it's a DIY that we've run into, and they took a shortcut and maybe didn't put the proper device in. Great question. I'm going to look that up when this is all done.
okay.
When they started doing it.
Okay, so I have one final question that was given to me this week. I have been told I don't have enough power for a hot tub or air conditioner. What needs to be done so that I can have my hot tub or air conditioner put in?
Yeah, that's an unfortunate reality for a lot of people. So
I,
back
I
back
ran
to
in
your
I ran into that once. I wanted a hot tub, but
yeah.
I had to
So
get everything redone.
that's right. Yeah. So back to your service upgrade point. I guess that's one option that you could entertain, and we see that a lot with people. You know, people trying to make or earn more money, so that maybe they turn their house into a basement suite, and so essentially now you have a house that's two houses. So more often than not, you're going to upgrade your service. But yeah, I mean, when you add these big loads like hot tubs or electric vehicle chargers or air conditioners, um, as a company and as a master electrician, we have to ensure that you don't eclipse your 100 amp service. And so there's a plethora of numbers and calculations that we do based on your square footage, any devices in the home that exceed 1500 watts. So essentially anything larger than a 15 amp breaker. We plug those all into to our math, and it tells us if you've eclipsed your 100 amps or not. And so more often than not, when you've got a fairly large home with an air conditioner already, it's the unfortunate reality that maybe they can't quite have that hot tub unless they upgrade their service, or if they entertain like a load sharing device or an energy management system. So that's very common, very common.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you very much, Jordy. If you guys need any electrical assistance, you can reach Jordy at 780-203-8377, Prestige Electric, and he would be happy to help you out. So you have yourself a great night, Jordy. Thank you very much for being on my YouTube channel, and let's hope we can get some business for both of us.
Yeah, well,
Have a great
thanks so
night.
much. Yeah, it was fun answering your questions. Always good to help out. You too.
Thanks.
See ya.